What's going on, football fans? Nick Ciamera here. It's Saturday, August 11th, which makes today day 187 without football. I'm starting to think that this football withdrawal thing is very real because last night I had this dream that I got so bored over the offseason that I created this podcast called Controlled Chaos. It was all about football, and I invited my friends to be guests on the show. I made shirts, business cards, filmed an episode on a beach. I even called myself DJ Dickie Nick. Weird. And I eventually put together a team of my friends and worked hard enough to create one of the greatest pro football podcasts ever. But what a silly dream that was, What kind of jackass would try something crazy like that? That would never work. Anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed some of the Hall of Fame speeches this past weekend. Nothing was cooler to me than seeing Ray Lewis and Randy Moss, two of my favorite players to watch as a kid, and two of the best players ever at their positions, make it into the Hall of Fame. I wish they talked more about the game and told stories about the game, their coaches, and players they played with and competed against. But I understand there are way bigger issues to talk about than football. Like when Ray Lewis clarified that Tom Brady isn't the only player who has intimate relationships with his children, or when Randy Moss reminded everyone that NFL GMs were dumb enough to let one of the greatest receivers of all time fall to the 21st pick in the 98 draft. So, for today's episode, I thought I'd switch it up and make an episode all about the unanswered questions in the NFL. Like, is Antonio Brown really the best receiver in the NFL? And is Jimmy Garoppolo the real deal? Does he deserve the hype? Questions like that. So crank up the chaos and relax while I answer some of the most highly debated topics in the NFL. All right, so the first unanswered question is Joe Flacco elite? Many Ravens fans will say that he is, but the answer is no. Joe Flacco is not elite. He's led the Ravens to the postseason 5 out of the 9 years of his NFL career with a record of 10-5, which is a higher playoff win percentage than Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and Aaron Rodgers, all elite quarterbacks. At times, he has made the impossible possible, like during the Ravens' playoff run in 2012 through 2013, when he threw 11 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in 4 playoff games. As a Ravens fan, I have supported him ever since he was a rookie. He's a Super Bowl MVP and one of my favorite quarterbacks, but he is still not elite. Since the Ravens' Super Bowl victory in 2013, Flacco's interception totals have increased, and the Ravens have made the playoffs only once in 2014. Obviously, those negatives and positives I mentioned are not entirely Flacco's fault because football is obviously a team game. But when you touch the ball every play, you certainly play a major role in the success and the failure of your football team. The main reason Flacco isn't elite is because of how inconsistent he is. Over the years, when Flacco has struggled, fans and analysts have said that he needs more receiver help. And that has been true at times. But look at some of the elite quarterbacks in this league right now, like Tom Brady and Drew Brees, who entered the league in 2000 and 2001. They haven't always had above-average receivers like Gronk and Michael Thomas. And for the majority of their careers, they have been the most valuable players on their teams. The same goes for Flacco, at least on the offensive side of the ball. Flacco had Anquan Boldin and Steve Smith as receivers, but not always. If I sat here and broke down which elite quarterbacks had who Flacco has thrown to, and how successful those guys have or have not been compared to Flacco, I'd be talking about this all day. The bottom line is elite quarterbacks in this league consistently prove year after year that they at least belong in the top 10 no matter who their receivers are. And Joe Flacco has not been a top 10 quarterback for some years. As far as quarterback rankings are concerned, my top 10 right now, just considering their current skill, not necessarily last season's stats or career accolades, just where I think their skill is at right now. In order, you have Aaron Rodgers at 1, Tom Brady at 2, Russell Wilson at 3, Drew Brees at 4, Ben Roethlisberger at 5, Phillip Rivers at 6, Matt Ryan at 7, Cam Newton at 8, Carson Wentz at 9, and Matt Stafford at 10. Flacco certainly has the capability to play elite football. And as a Ravens fan and a fan of his, I hope to see an elite season out of him this year, especially now that he's competing with rookie Lamar Jackson. Last year we saw Alex Smith have one of the best seasons of his career after the Chiefs added some quarterback competition when they drafted Patrick Mahomes, 10th overall in the 2017 NFL Draft. So it'll be interesting to see how Jackson's presence affects Flacco's performance in this upcoming season. So the second unanswered question is Antonio Brown the best receiver in the NFL? My answer is yes. My favorite player to watch in this game right now is without a doubt Odell Beckham. To me, he has everything an amazing receiver should have: the speed, the hands, the route running ability, and the field awareness. There's only 2 other receivers I would put ahead of him, and once again, I am ranking these guys based off current skill, not necessarily what they did last season, just where I think their talent is at right now. Those 2 receivers are Antonio Brown and DeAndre Hopkins. I'm sure plenty of people want to tell me I'm wrong, and that Julio Jones is somewhere in that top 3, but he's not. I think he's sitting at 4, and he's still an incredible receiver. But those guys in the top 3 have better hands, better and quicker route running ability, and they're more reliable, in my opinion. If you think I'm wrong, watch some more highlights, or feel free to contact the show. Or hell, do both. I would love to hear why you think Jones belongs somewhere in the top 3. Alright, back to Antonio Brown. This guy is straight up a freak of nature. No one at 5'10" should be as great at the wide receiver position as AB is. And I'm sure Steve Smith would kick my ass right now for saying that. But it's true. He's another example of an undersized receiver that's a future Hall of Famer. In Brown's past 5 seasons, he's finished with at least 1,200 yards or more and 8 to 13 touchdowns while battling some serious injuries. Like this past season, he had to deal with the calf injury, and then he bounced back incredibly in the playoffs against the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've been a fan of Antonio Brown ever since I got over, I guess, being too hardcore of a Ravens fan, because no matter how much you like a team, you gotta respect and appreciate an opponent and talent like Antonio Brown. If not, you're just an ignorant jackass, plain and simple. I honestly don't see anyone playing the receiver position as well as Antonio Brown is right now. Alright, so our next question is pretty similar to the last one. Is Todd Gurley the best running back in the NFL? I'm going to have to say no, and it's tough because him and Le'Veon Bell are about neck and neck in this race. Last season, Gurley put up some MVP numbers that my friend Kev brought up in the last episode when we talked about Gurley. But to me, Bell's patient running style and his ability to be the MVP of his team, even when he has guys like Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown on his side, is remarkable at times. Now, keep in mind, Brown and Roethlisberger help make Bell a better player because he doesn't have to work as hard with talent like that around him. Right now, to me, it's Le'Veon Bell by a hair. Plus, this was Gurley's first breakout season. In his rookie year, Todd Gurley had some amazing games, but he still didn't play a full season that year. And then the next season, he hit a wall like Kareem Hunt did last season. In 2014, 2016, and last season, Bell has recorded anywhere between 1,800 and 2,200 yards per season. The fact that he can consistently put up these numbers is unreal, and Gurley is just not there yet, statistically or as far as current skill is concerned. I have no doubt that if Gurley continues to play at the level he did last season, that he will make a case for the best back in the league. So I'm sure plenty of fans are wondering if Jimmy Garoppolo is the real deal. For a moment, many of us fans thought that Brock Osweiler was the real deal after Peyton Manning was benched for Osweiler in 2015. Man, imagine being Peyton Manning, throwing 4 picks, then getting benched, and watching Osweiler lead the Broncos to defeat the Patriots shortly after Osweiler took the starting role. Man, that's a sentence I never thought I would say. You know, if you asked me how I thought Peyton Manning's career would end, man, that would have been my last guess. That was a wild year in 2015, to say the least. All right, back to Jimmy G. In the 49ers' last 5 games last season, I was probably most impressed with how prepared Garoppolo was and how quickly the team rallied around him. I remember shortly after last season, before Cleveland picked this guy up, Carlos Hyde said, quote, "Next year we're going to win the Super Bowl," end quote. Immediately I thought he was wrong, but I've seen enough football and enough player interviews to know that he was not bullshitting at all when he said that. I can definitely see Garoppolo blossoming into a top-tier quarterback. Shit, now I sound like Hyde, damn it. But seriously, I'm sure Garoppolo has learned a lot from Tom Brady, and I expect a transition similar to Brett Favre passing the torch to Aaron Rodgers. Although, I could be wrong. Peyton Manning is a Hall of Fame quarterback, and Brock Osweiler looked inexperienced at times as a Bronco starting out, because he was. Also, Osweiler had a couple of above-average receivers in Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas. Jimmy G's best receivers last season were Pierre Garçon and Marquise Goodwin, who are good and talented, but not nearly as explosive as Thomas and Sanders were in 2015, or even now. Also, to me, Jimmy G looked like a veteran every time he touched the field last season. A few mistakes here and there, but similar to an elite veteran quarterback's mistakes. He made more positive plays than negative plays, and he led the second worst team in the NFL to 5 straight wins to cap off the season. I think we will see some struggles from Garoppolo next season, but 49ers fans should be excited as I am to see this team perform next season, because Garoppolo will figure it out. And even if next year isn't their year, like I suspect, this team will be the real deal in the near future. And lastly, this question is for my Ravens fans listening. Even though I can't hear you get loud for me one time, hell yeah. It's going to be a big year for Baltimore this season. I can feel it in my bones. Hopefully I'm not the only one, because if not, I might need to see a doctor. Anyway, the final question in this episode is, when will Lamar Jackson be the Ravens' starting quarterback? And after careful thought, my answer is the 2019 season. I think Flacco plays harder than he ever has and leads the Ravens to the postseason. Every year besides the brutal 2015 season, the Ravens have been knocking on the door of the playoffs. I think Jackson is enough motivation for the team, and especially Flacco. I see my favorite team winning in the wild card round. Then, as much as I hate to predict the Ravens losing, I see them losing in the divisional round to probably Jacksonville. After next season is said and done, I think the Ravens trade Flacco, and Lamar Jackson makes his first start to kick off the 2019 season. This is more of a guess than answering an unanswered question, but I'm sort of doing both, and it's my gut feeling, so be prepared, my fellow Ravens fans. Plenty of exciting stuff going on next season. Alright, that's it. Let me know if you guys have any other questions you would like answered. I would like to make a part 2 for this episode, but I need some more questions. So feel free to send any questions to the show. Best way to do that is through our Controlled Chaos Instagram or Twitter account. And also, feedback is always appreciated. Make sure you subscribe or follow wherever you listen to Controlled Chaos at to hear every episode as soon as it's released. In case you didn't see the statement I released on our social media pages, starting September 6th, I will be releasing 2 episodes per week, and it will mostly be fantasy football related talk. I will still be talking about news, making predictions, and analyzing, players, games, and everything else that goes along with a football season. But it will be centered around fantasy. So if that's not your thing, I'm sorry, but I need some more help with everything. Over this summer, I've had some time to do it all myself, but now I need your help. If you think you can help, even if it's the slightest bit of help, it would mean everything to me, and it would help the show greatly. Otherwise, expect a kick-ass fantasy show for this regular season and through the playoffs. And lastly, the contest/giveaway I've been talking about will start August 30th. Like I said in previous episodes, stay tuned to our Instagram and Twitter accounts at CONTR Chaos to make sure you've got a free shot at one $50 Visa gift card. Have a great weekend, everyone. DJ Dickie Nick out.